Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of the 4-day project development bootcamp on React.js organized by the Computer Society of India, KJSIEIT. Our college, KJ Somaya Institute of Engineering and Information Technology Science, has been accredited by NAC with an A grade and was awarded the Best College Award by University of Mumbai in academic year 2018-19 Urban Region, CSI Mumbai Chapter, and ISTE Maharashtra and Goa section. I would like to thank Professor Uday Rote sir, Dean of Students Welfare, our Principal Dr. Suresh Ukarande sir, and Vice Principal Dr. Sunita Patil ma'am for giving us the opportunity to organize this bootcamp and for all their support. For those of you who were not there yesterday, let me introduce our resource person for this bootcamp, Mr. Mitanshu Reshamwala. He is our very own software admin and a final year computer engineering student at KJSIEIT. He is an AI enthusiast with data analysis, data visualization, machine learning, and deep learning as a part of his large skill set. He has also worked as an AI engineer for the Indian Meteorological Department. He has participated in various hackathons and has worked on multiple projects, gaining proficiency in various web development frameworks and platforms such as React.js, React Native, Node.js, making him the perfect person to deliver this bootcamp. We will now start with day 2. Over to you, Mitanshu.
Hello everyone, welcome to day 2. So today we are going to be building a to-do application as we had discussed yesterday. And let me just give you a brief overview on what the application looks like. Can someone please tell me if they can see the screen properly? Am I audible? Okay. All right. Okay. So this is the application that we will be building. I'll put this link in the chat box so that everyone can access this application. So this application is hosted on the cloud, and the database is also on the cloud. Everyone can start interacting with this. They can click on the checkbox to change the is it completed or not. They can click on the delete button to delete any to-do item. Also, they can add different items. Okay, I just want to let everyone know, please, there are no checks on it, so please do not put any harmful material on the to-do list. Till then, everyone can test this out. All right. So what is the plan for this website? So first thing that we are going to do is, all right. Okay, I think. Okay, everyone can you please stop? Like I need to explain the application. All right. So this is how the application is going to look like. So there's going to be a header and there's this list of to-do items, right? So if anyone can tell me like how would you structure this application? Let me give you a hint that React apps are usually in a tree-like structure. So a component can be reused multiple times. Is there something that you see over here which can be reused in this application?
The row, the to-do row.
Yes. So this individual item, while they may display different items, but overall the structure of this one line is quite similar. All right. So this is something that we are going to reuse. Here you will see the power of React by using reusable components. Okay. Okay. So let's get started. So this is I will close this application. All of you can keep testing this out. Okay. Okay, coming back. First thing, I've created a empty React app. You can use the npx create React app command to create this boilerplate code. I'll put this command back in the chat box. So in case anyone missed this command, they did not create the app beforehand, so they can do this right now. Okay. First thing is, okay, I had a question like, is everyone able to see the font size? Like, is the font size too small? Do I need to increase the size?
It's correct. It's fine.
It's okay?
It's okay.
All
It's okay.
right. Okay. Okay. I have started the app using npm start, this command, npm start. Okay, so doing that, you can start the React application. First thing that we are going to do is we are going to remove all the boilerplate code that create React app gives us. We will delete app.test.js, logo, report vitals, setup test. We will delete these 4 files. Okay. Next, what we are going to do is we are going to remove the import statements wherever it is being used, and from here, and the last line where we are using that. Okay. So now the application should have a blank page. I think I missed somewhere some line. Okay, I just needed to refresh it. So now I've removed all the boilerplate code and we are left with an empty div. Okay. First things first, everything I'm going to be building on the center of the page. So I'm going to add, I'm going to give you some CSS stylings, which I've written beforehand, which you can copy from the chat box. All right. Or you can take this in the chat box and paste this thing in app.css. These are the styles that we are going to be using for this application. All right. Well, I'm just going to center everything to the center of the page. Okay. Next thing that we are going to do, I'm going to add another div which will have the class name of container. So this is all just styling that I'm putting right now. Over here, there is nothing like code wise, there is nothing going on over here. Okay, so I am going to be creating these 2 sections. First was the header. All right. First part is the header that we saw. And second one, this is going to be the whole component in which I'm going to be displaying the to-dos. As I said, React has a tree-like structure. So from this app, which is like our root component, I'm going to be building more components into it. Okay. So these 2 will be my custom components that I will create myself. Okay. So right now, if I will save this, this will crash my application because these 2 I have not defined. Where does this come from? What does this do? React app does not know this, and this will give me an error. So for that, first we will need to create these 2 files. So the convention is in your source folder, you create a new folder called components. All right. And in this folder, you will add all your custom components. So I'll create both of them, header.js and todos.js. Please follow the convention that component names should be in Pascal case. So the first letter should be capital. Okay. I'm going to be using these snippets that we downloaded last time, ES7 React snippets. If you're using some different IDE or you do not, or you have not installed this snippets, basically this snippet will just give me a boilerplate code for React. So you're free to not, you can write this whole thing by yourself. This will be a function which will return div, and then we export this as default. That's all that we are doing. All right. Same goes for to-dos. All right. And we are going to import both of these. So if you click over here and put control space, so it will show that it can, the text editor can see where this component is coming from. So if I click on this, it will auto import this from me. So these are just some quality of life developer experience features. If this autocorrect does not come for you, you just import it manually. Import header. So that's what we are exporting from here. And we are going to export it from this file. So this means in the current directory, there is a folder called components. And in that, there is a file called header. We don't need to add .js because we are writing it in JavaScript. So by default, it understands that it is going to be a JavaScript file. Whereas if it's some different file, you have to mention that it is a CSS file or not. Okay. So is everyone done till here? Have you created these two files and you have displayed them over here? I can just show header and to-dos. So you can see both of them are being displayed over here. And if I inspect this, you will see that inside the div, inside app, inside container, this is where I am displaying the header and the to-dos, and this line has been replaced by this div that we returned from this function. So that's what you are seeing over here, a div with a header in it and a div with to-dos in it. Okay, so this is how React does everything. It will take all the components from different files. It will insert whatever code that we are returning into our HTML. Okay, what was the shortcut for auto import? Control space. In Mac, I think it's command space. All right. Next, we are going to be building the header component. Okay. So for that, I'm going to be using a styling framework called Material CSS. So for that, you can open your terminal using this, or you can even open it using Control tilde. It's next to the one on your keyboard. Any is fine. Create a new terminal. Okay, you can keep this running. You don't need to stop this. Go to a new terminal and then write npm I, which is short for install, but you can even write I. Okay, and at the rate material UI/4. This is the command. I'll paste this in the chat box. Can you share header.js and todo.js? Okay, will do. This one is the header.js file, and this is the todos.js file. Okay. Why are we installing /core? Can you repeat? Okay, so there is something called as as I told you, npm is your package manager for Node. Okay, npm stands for Node Package Manager. So this has all different packages that we can use that someone else has built for us. Okay, so this is a package that is created by these designers. They have created this style of websites. This is called the material design, and they have created this library which we can use in React for our use. Okay, so this is how you install it. So this is the package name at material UI/core. That's their package name on the npm registry. So this is how we have to install it. Okay. Can you please show app.css code? I've sent it on the chat box. You can look at it. If you scroll a little bit up on the chat box, you'll find the app.css styling. Okay. So let's see if the installation is done. So you can see everything is installed. You can ignore these vulnerabilities. That's okay. Okay. Coming back. We will make the header first. Okay. So for the header, what we are going to do is we are going to first create a app bar. So this is something that Material UI has created. Okay, I'll just show you how does this look like. So this is what we are going to add. Okay, so over here you can see they have shown us how to use this. Okay. Mm, all right. So this is how they have shown us that how we can use this component in our code. All right. If anyone wants to try out some different things, so over here, if someone wants to make a bottom navigation, they can come over here, look at the examples, and see which one is suitable to their needs, and they can open the code and they can copy that code from here and try it out in their own application. Okay, we'll come back to app bar. All right. So first thing what we need is we want this thing. We want this whole app bar, right? So for that, what we are going to do is we are going to use that component that they are given, and app bar, and then you pass it some properties. So I want the position of this to be static. All right. And I want the color to be primary. So these are some properties that I'm passing to this. Okay. All right. And then, okay, first we need to import this from Material UI. We can't see this, right? So I tried control space, but it's not understanding this. So I'm going to manually import this. So how do I manually import? So for them who cannot use the auto import, so this is how you do import, and then curly braces, because these are not default exports from that package, and from, and you write the package name over here. So Material UI /code. Over here, I will use the app bar. Okay, now this should work, and now I can get all the autocorrect also, hopefully. Next what we are going to put is a toolbar in it. Okay, this also comes from Material UI core, and for toolbar, there are no properties required. Okay. Now, where am I getting all of this? I'm getting all of these lines from here only. This is how they have defined it. That's where I'm getting it from. All right. Okay. Next thing that we are going to do is we are going to put some text in this. Okay. So it's going to be a typography. So this is similar to your H tags and P tags. So in this, you put any text in it. Okay. And I'm going to make this an header 6 variant. So that means it's going to be a H6 element that it will render. Okay. So I'll just give an example. App bar is not defined. Sorry, the B is capital over here. Make sure that you do not make the same mistake. So the B is capital over here. Okay, now let's look at the application. You can see we created that app bar, and I have this hello over here. And if I inspect on this, you can see it rendered a H6 element over there, right? So that's what I meant when I put H6 in this variant. If I put an H1, it's going to render an H1 tag over here with the text of hello. Okay. So these are the components that are pre-built for us with these stylings that we want. The B in the app bar is capital. Yes. Okay. So what are we going to put in this? We are going to put CSI to-do list, right? So that's going to be the heading for our app bar. All right. And we are going to put a class name of title. We are going to put a class name of title because we want the text to be in the center. Now for that, we have to first create a header.css. So we'll create a file called header.css. And in this, we are going to create a class called title. And in that, we are going to put the styles. So this title class will have these properties. Yeah, I have put this in the chat box. Okay. The header.css is in the same folder as components. You can put also, there are a few conventions. You can create a new folder called styles and then import it from there. But for right now, I am keeping the CSS files inside the component folder only. Okay. So there are different ways of structuring your project. I'm going with this approach. You're welcome to use any other approach. Just need to import this file after you're done with it. So because it's in the current folder, I'm using // and then the file name, which is header.css. And now after saving, I can see that this text has been centered now, right? So what did we do right now is we used material UI and we created an app bar which displays our title in the center. Okay, is that correct? Any doubts in this? This was just pure HTML and CSS. Over here, we didn't deal with a lot of React. Okay, moving forward. Now our header is done. Next, what we are going to work on is, I'll again open the app and see. Next, what are we going to do is we are going to make this individual item, right? This will be an individual item. So we need to create one of them. After we create one of them, we can create more of them. Okay. So for that, I'm just going to use do this. Okay. And our to-do item has this following things. First thing that it will have is it will have a checkbox. So this one I'm also taking from Material UI to get this kind of look for it. Okay. This will be a checkbox and I'm giving it some properties. So name equals to completed. So this will be useful when we change it. So when we are interacting with the state of this checkbox, that's when this will come useful. Okay. Then checked. So this is checked. So this is a property of the checkbox which will accept a Boolean value, true or false. So if it is true, it's going to display this kind of an icon, and if it is false, it's going to display a hollow square. Okay, so that's what we pass into checked. So for right now, I'm going to keep it as true. Okay, we will make it dynamic soon, but for right now, let's keep it true. Next, we will add some color into it. So primary, so material UI colors by default, they have these colors. So I'm currently in the night mode. Let me switch to day mode. Okay, by default, it will have this color as primary and this reddish pink color as the secondary color. You can edit this colors according to your feel, which we will come to soon. After we are done with this, I will show you how to put your theme of colors into Material UI. Okay. So where I'm getting all of this from, same. I'll just search for a checkbox over here and I can check the properties that I can give to checkbox. Okay. So these are some properties that it can accept. Okay. So I showed that there is checked, which is a Boolean. By default, it's false. And if it's true, the component is checked. Similarly, there are so many different properties that you can pass to it to make it to customize it to your own needs. Okay. We did not close this checkbox. Okay. And next, what we are going to do, now we're done with the checkbox. Let's look it on the website. You can see we have a text box displayed over here. All right. Right. Then next one, what do we need? Next, what we need is we need a input box where we can type out our to-do list. All right. Okay. So that's something. So that's going to be a text field. Okay. It's going to be a text field. This also comes from Material UI. And you need to import both of these from Material UI. I am auto importing it, but please, someone who does not have auto import, import it manually. Okay. Text field. So name, as I said, when we are going to deal with the clicking and changing of the text field and the checkbox, that's when we require the name. You will see how it comes to use, and we name it to do. Next, we want this to do to be multi-line also. So this is so by default, if you don't give it any value, it will assume the value of true. Okay. So multi-line requires Boolean value passed to it. Okay. So if I don't give it anything, so it's going to take it as it's going to take it as true. If I wanted false, I will do it this way. Okay. So that's also possible to do. Okay. We want this text field to be multi-line. Next, we want the style. So this is how you put inline styles in HTML. You can pass CSS styles instead of creating separate CSS files. You can pass CSS directly to them using this style, and then this bracket is for writing JavaScript, and then you pass an object to it, okay, which will have your CSS property. So for this one, I want the width of this text field to be 100%. To take the full width, it can. Okay. Right. Then what do I want? Okay, rest of that we will deal with it later on. All the other properties. So this is our text field. Let's look at it on the browser over here. Now we can type on this, right? And it has this effect when I like hover on it or click on it, right? And then next, what we need to do is we are going to add a button for deleting it. Okay. So for that, we are going to be using something called as icon button. Yes. So this is like icon buttons that Material UI has provided, on which we can input any image that we want. So they have like a lot of icons that Material UI has, material icons. There's a list of 1,700 plus icons that you can use. You can search for any icon you want, let's say cloud save or something, downloading from cloud or uploading from cloud. There's like different icons that you can use. Okay. All right. Coming back, buttons. Now we are going to add a delete button to it. Okay. So icon buttons. So you can see we need to use the icon component, icon button component, and then we put the SVG inside it in as its children. Okay. So how do we do that? We saw first we need an icon button, right? And also close this. Okay. Next, we need same name. This will be used for handling data later on. Okay. A name tag, and inside this we will pass the icon of that dustbin one. Okay. So this one you cannot auto import. So this one you will have to do manually. So I will pass this one on the import statements into the chat box, because this is a very big one. It's a big import statement. I put it in the chat box. So this is, I'm importing it from Material UI icons. Okay, now this thing will not work. Why? Because this is coming from a different package called Material UI /icons. So because we have not installed it, it cannot find it. So Material UI core, then there is another package called as Material UI icons. Material UI icons. So from here we can access those icons that I mentioned earlier, all of these, the 1700 plus icons. So for that we need to install this again. So I put this statement into the chat box. So let's go to our second terminal and run this command. Okay. So this is now downloading the icons package. Any doubts up till here? Oh, those MNU, those are for your Git. No, that's just my version control. Or you can ignore those. This installation might take time according to your internet speed. Okay, so this is my app. Okay, in my app, so these two divs are just to center all of my content to the center of this screen, because I've put all these class name. These are the styling that I've put. Then I'm displaying these two components. Header and to do is not defined. Okay, so the reason might be because you have not imported them. You need to import them before using them. Okay, so if I remove these two lines, it will give me an error. Okay, because it doesn't know where does this header come from. All right. Okay, next the header one. Okay, what is this doing? It is displaying an app bar which we got from Material UI. So they have defined that how should this be displayed. Okay, if I show you the app bar, so app bar by default they have said that it's going to be a header tag, it's going to have a div inside it, it's going to have, this is the way that they are displaying this. Okay, they have defined and they have put all these stylings as classes on it. We do not need to deal with the styling. Okay. Okay, now my Material UI has been downloaded, as you can see, and if I refresh my page, it should work properly. Okay, it did not. It was save. Okay, there's some error. Okay, they have, I think they have changed the way this whole thing is being imported. So let me just check one for one moment that how this is happening. So sometimes because we are using a third party dependency over here, they have changed how to use this library. So we need to edit our own use accordingly. So I had created this application a month back. Okay, so there have been some changes on their side. So I need to accommodate for that. So right now I imported it in this way at Material UI / icons. But as you can see, they have changed their import style to this way. So I need to accommodate for that. And mostly if I replace this should work.
Material UI is now MUI, so we'll need to install the MUI package instead of Material UI.
Hopefully, yeah, mostly, yeah, we need to install it in this way. So yeah, this is this is some changes that they have made, and we need to incorporate that. Okay. So we need to install this one. I'll paste this line into the chat box. Yes, you can write custom CSS if you want, but right, this is not a style. This is I'm trying to teach React over here, not styling. That's why I'm relying on Material UI styling. We will also see how to add your own custom styling into Material CSS or Material also Material UI. Okay, so let this install. So this is a change on their side. We need to install the package in this way now. What if I'm using yarn? Okay, for yarn, you need to do yarn add and the package name this way. Okay, I'll just paste this command into the chat box. For those who don't know, yarn is an alternative to npm, but if you're just starting out, you do not need to worry about it. All right. This is going to take some time to download. So till that is being downloaded, that's just going to add that delete button onto our this one on our web page. So I'll just move forward with it. What it's going to do is it's just going to add this dustbin icon on that. So while it's being downloaded, we can move on to our next agenda, next item on our agenda. So this should work now. Okay, moving on. I will just reduce the size. I hope like nobody minds this because this is like too big for me. Okay. First thing that we are going to do is we are going to style this so that everything comes into one line. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to style all of this so that everything comes in one line in this way. Okay. First thing that we are going to do is both of these have to be wrapped inside a div. I'm going to add a div over here and okay, Control X, Control V. All right. So now these two things will be wrapped in this div, and I'm going to pass this styling of class name equals to okay. So what am I doing over here? I'm passing a class name to it. All right. So for that, first we need to have a styling. Okay. So that's going to come from okay. I will try to show you styling in inline in a few minutes, but right now we are again going to make a different styling. So for that, to do item dot css. Okay, and over here there's going to be these three styles that we're going to add. And I'll put it in the chat box also so that you can copy this. This will be in to do item dot css. Okay, why are you using separate closer for icon button and don't use for checkbox? And okay, so that's like HTML. So in HTML, there are two ways of writing something. So you have your input tags, right? You have your input tags. They can be self-closing. There will be nothing like inside it. Okay, but if there is something like a p tag in which you put the tags, you need to open it and close it, and inside that you need to write. So that's what's called as children of that element. So these components, this checkbox and text field, they are self-closing, whereas icon button needs to have a children, which will be an icon itself. So let's see, is this installed? So this is installed. Now let's uncomment this and try it out. Like, did this work now? can't resolve slash, okay. Unresolved material UI, it is. I will look into this later on and I will get back to you on this. So for right now, what we are going to do is instead, we are going to just remove this and we are going to add a plain button. Okay. So this one is also going to come from material UI. This I'm going to put this kind of button instead. I will solve this error and I will get back to you. So this is how we use a button in material UI. That it will be a opening and closing, and in the children we pass some text into it. Okay, so over here you can see I'm going to pass delete, and the color will be primary. So does this show on our page now? Okay, I need to remove that input statement from up there. And I need to import the button. Completed is not defined. Okay, this is done. And I want this in this kind of way. So it has a variant of contained. All right. So this is some like live debugging that I did in front of you, which you will experience a lot when you're actually coding. These kind of errors just come. You cannot like expect what will happen. Okay. So I'm just going to style all of this. As I was saying, that this will be okay. This is going to have a class name of completed, or yeah, this is that's what's going to go, that it will have a class name of content, and if it is completed it will be striked, otherwise not. Okay, so this is some state that will be passed to it. So use state, so this is something that we did in our last session. So by default I want it to be false, and we need to import use state from React. Okay, okay, and we need to import this file. It's going to come from the same folder, and the file name is to do item.css. Now let's save and see, did this thing work? Okay, let's see the file. All right, right now it's false, and if I make it true, this should be striked through. Okay, we'll look into the styling once again. There's some things that are happening. Okay, I pasted this one, I think, in the wrong place. No, I did not. Okay, so the way the styling is set, it's going to make a line through the text decoration. I think I'm just going to not do this because right now it will conflict with this one. So we are not going to do the striped styling into our application. So I'm just going to remove this part. Content. That's only that's the styling that we're going to do. And what does content have? It's just going to add flex to it. Okay, that's it. Okay, next to that, what we are going to do is the styling is not coming properly. It might be because my browser is like zoomed in a lot. I imported it and I used this content. Okay, so I guess like there's something wrong going on with the styling of the page. I might have to restart the server. I'll look into this later on. It's just a styling that's having an issue. As I said, I'm not good at like making things look pretty, but I'll make them work. Okay. So let's just move on. Okay. So this is something that is present for every to-do item, right? So what we are going to do is, this is one to-do item. So similarly, if we want more of them, what are we going to do? We are going to copy paste, and we are going to display more of them. But this thing requires manual effort, right? You can't go ahead and make the same thing again and again because there's only like a few differences, right? In this. So what we are going to do is we are going to extract this whole thing because this thing is reusable. As I said, this thing is going to be uh, reusable. Okay, delete outline work. Can you tell me like what happened? What was there some like installation issue from my side? Hiral? Okay, I'll just continue. Also, this thing is going to be reusable, right? What am I
Sir,
going to
you use delete icon button instead of delete icon outline. So that's need to be changed.
Okay, I will see. Um, um, let's comment this one. And I will again use the icon button. And inside that, I will have the delete icon this way, right?
Delete outline.
Delete outline from icons. Compiling. I'll turn off my camera. I think my PC is becoming a little slow right now. I'll turn off my camera. Okay, I think like my PC crashed, so I'm just going to restart this React server. There might be some like issue in like compiling this thing. So this can happen. So React can have like issues sometimes. So first thing that you try is to just like stop the server and restart it. You can stop it using Control C, and for starting again, you know the command npm start. Okay. So while this is happening, I'll see like if there is some issue or not. Okay. This we will look into. This is just an icon. Okay. This whole thing is going to be reusable, right? So what we are going to do, we are going to create a component out of it. So I'm just going to remove this from here. Okay. And I'm going to create a new component called as to-do item.js. And I'm going to set up that boilerplate code. And this is going to have, we are going to put that same code into here. All right. Okay. And right. So this will have the class name of root. Okay. And the CSS file that we were importing over here, instead, we will import it over here. Okay. And let's see if it displays the same thing. To do item. Okay, what did I do just now? I didn't do anything. Whatever code I had written over here, I extracted into a component outside of the this file, right? I just extracted all of that code over here. Now, what power does it give to me is let it compile first so I can show it to you what it has done. So if someone wants to like copy what I have written over here, they can do that. I will just split this and show both of them side by side so that you can copy what I have done. Ignore this line. now we are going to shift that into to-do item itself. Okay, all of this is not required now over here. Yes, whatever we had written, we shifted it over here. Still here any doubts? Like anyone has doubt what I did just now? All right. Now it has issues because I have not imported all of these. So I'm just going to import all of them again because in this file I have not imported them. Okay, summary that I have done. Okay, what I have done right now, okay, is first let's like look at the application. Okay, what we have done, we created a header over here as a separate component. Okay, second, we created to-dos which will display all the to-do items. And what will that be? It will be a singular to-do item which will have a checkbox, a text field, and a button for deleting. Right? That's what it's going to have. So that's what we have done. Okay. Next thing is what we are going to do is we are going to see how this component we can reuse. So let's come back to to-dos. Now the same thing I can use multiple times. So instead of writing everything manually again and again, I created one component and now I can reuse this. Okay. Now I will introduce the concept of properties. So we have been using properties over here. If you can see this checkbox, I gave it like different properties that it itself internally is using. Okay. But now we are going to use properties that we have created for our own component. So how do we do that? This function, okay, it will receive some kind of props, which is short for properties. Okay. Now these properties will be passed on from over here. Okay. So let's say in to-do item, what are the things that needs to be passed? So one, is it checked or not? Right? Is it completed or not? Second, what is the to-do item? Right? These are the two things that need to be passed. So that's what I'm going to pass. So first, completed equal to, let's say this one is true. Second is going to be the to-do text itself. So to-do, let's say by X. Okay, something like this. Now for this, I need to access it inside my to-do item, right? So this props is going to be a JavaScript object itself. So what this props is going to look like? So this props will be equal to an object like this, okay? And it will have like two items. One will be completed, and that's going to be true. And second one is going to be to do, which is going to be by X. Now this thing is going to come from where? It's going to come from here. Okay. These properties are going to be passed down over here. All right. So we can access it in this way. Okay. So we are going to use this over here. So instead of manually writing it true, I'm going to use props dot completed, and over here in the text field, I'm going to pass a value of props dot to do. So that's what's going to be displayed over here. And you can see because it was true, it had the tick mark and the text was passed. Okay. Now if I try to type over here, nothing will happen. Why is that happening? is because, as I said, we need to track the changes. So in the last application, how did we do that? We put some on changes on it, and like we were tracking its state and everything, right? So for that, what we need to do? So we are going to do it in a different way than we did it yesterday. Okay. And what will be the difference is we are going to use Firebase today, right? So Firebase is going to provide us with real-time listening to our database. Okay. Whatever we will have in our database, we can listen to it real time. So for that, we do not need to manually set our state differently. Okay. So yesterday, what did we do over here? That if on the text field, we will manually change this props.todo somehow, right? Using useState. But today we are going to handle that a little differently using Firebase real-time listening. Okay. So next thing that we are going to do is, so right now I'm just like manually writing a to-do item again and again. This is similar to what we do in regular HTML, but we do not want to do that. We want this, that if there is one to do, it should display one to do. If there are five, it should display five. I should not come over here and manually do all of this, right? So how do I deal with that? So there is something called as arrays, okay, in JavaScript in a lot of languages. So how am I going to deal with that? Is I will have some sort of to-dos coming from our database, right? And it will be an array of objects which will have these two properties: completed. So let's say it is true, and the to-do itself, which will be by X. And similarly, these kind of, there are multiple of them, right? So I'll just put two of them. So this one will be false, and let's say by bread, right? So this is something that's coming from database. We have yet to connect our database, but you can think of this like it's coming from there. Okay. So what it's going to do, we are going to loop through. As I said, React is kind of like a language, right? So we will first loop through this and we will display this. So this is something how you handle lists or something that is repetitive. Okay. So first I want to write some JavaScript. So I'm going to open and close my curly braces. Inside this, I'm going to loop through the to-dos. So I'm going to do to-dos.map. So this is one way of looping through your arrays, and I'll get a singular to-do item from it. Okay. So this is a function. All right. This is a function. Okay, I put the bracket in the wrong place. All right. This map itself is a function, okay, which will have this thing as a parameter to do item. Okay. Now I will show you. I will just console log this to do item so you can see how does it look. Right now you won't see anything on the screen, but I will show you in the console log that it is there. So in the console log, you can see buy bread and this is buy eggs, right? You can see both of the items in the console log. All right. Next, we want to display it, right? So you can see that this is also a function only. So how are we displaying it? We are returning something, right? We are returning the HTML. Similarly, over here also, you need to return the HTML. I'm going to return. Let's say this is just a div for right now, so that you understand the concept of displaying something in a list. I'm returning a div which will have to do item. All right. So now you can see, we can see that two of these items are being displayed. I'll remove this line now. Okay, you can see both of them are being displayed. Now, how do I get the data inside this, right? So you can see this to-do item has these two properties, right? So what do I want to return? I want to return the component to-do item. right? I'm going to display, and there will be some properties that I passed to it. First one is completed, which will be equal to do item dot completed, right? Second property that I pass is to do, which will be equal to my to do item dot to do, right? Now let's see, does this thing work? And you can see that this one is true and this one is false. This one has buy eggs and this one has buy bread, right? So this thing works, right? Is this in this, does anyone have a doubt? What I'm doing over here, I'm looping through my to-do list and then I'm displaying each of them in this way where I'm passing this property individually as properties to our to-do item component. Any doubt in this? Okay, I'll move forward. Now, what are we going to do? So now we are going to connect to our database, okay? Because now I feel that it's the correct time. So for that, you need to go to this website called as console.firebase.google.com. So I'll put this in the chat box. Okay, I think text field is having a, I think like text field has F as capital, so that's why you have imported it wrong. Okay, any other problems? No, right? Okay. What we are going to do after coming over here, we are going to create a new project. So this might like look like create project instead of add project, and we are going to give it a name. So I will give it React to do CSI. Okay. I gave this a name. You can keep this on or off, doesn't matter. And I will use the default account for Firebase, and I created this project. So this might take 2 or 3 minutes to create. Okay. What is this going to do? It's going to set up a Google Cloud project in the backend that Firebase will be using to manage your application. All right. So what features does Firebase have? So one of the services of Firebase that we are going to be using is Firestore. So Firestore is a database. It is a NoSQL database that is on the cloud, on which we can listen to real-time updates. Okay, and this is like a lot like fully cloud infrastructure like Google has, right? So Google is handling all of this for you. Okay, so first thing we are going to do is we are going to come to Firestore database. Has everyone created a project right now?
The analytics should be off, right?
Or doesn't matter, you can keep it on or off, doesn't matter. Okay, I think everyone has created a project at least. So over here you can see different services that it provides. So from that we are going to be using Firestore database. So I'm going to click over here and I'm going to create this database. We'll start it in production mode. Okay. Next, and then we are going to choose a location. So I'm assuming that most of us are from India. So in India, this Asia South one is a server inside Mumbai. So this is one that you can choose. If you're from somewhere else, you can choose any one of them that you feel is closest to you. Okay. So if someone is from USA, you can use any one of them. Okay. And we are going to click enable. So now what is being done is this Firebase is creating a cloud Firestore virtual machine for us in which we can store our data. All right. So the reason for choosing this will work for you. For me, it won't work because I have like exploited Firebase a lot, so I have to do it manually from somewhere else. But this will work for you. You can go ahead with this step. I will have to do it manually from somewhere else. If anyone experiences any issues in creating this, you can let me know.
Why use Firestore then real time? Any preference?
So there are like real time data. So one of them is like pricing. Okay.
The Firestore is more priced. More priced.
No, it
So
is,
that's why.
but like both of them have like separate use cases. So real time database, it is optimized for using this thing real time. Okay. Whereas Firebase, Firestore, it has different like use cases. So over here, you can see this link is Cloud Firestore right for you. So this is showing you comparison between both of them, Cloud Firestore and real time. Okay. So you can look through this article itself and it will explain it to you, okay, that what is the issue coming. Okay. Why didn't it work for you? Because I have created a lot of Firebase projects, so I have like exploited them very much. Okay, so I have just created it again. I'm refreshing the page and you can see it is activated for me. Yeah, when you use something for free a lot, like they are bound to like stop you. Okay, so this is how it's going to look for you. So this is no SQL. So people who are experienced with SQL, you might know there is something called as tables and individual like rows, right? Similarly, this has the concept of collections and documents. So collection you can relate to something like tables, and an individual row is going to be a document in our database. Okay. So what we are going to do is, you can see we are going to only have one collection. So we're going to create a collection called as to-dos. Okay. You can name it anything, but make sure you, whenever you are accessing it on our code, you use that different name if you have used some other name. Okay. But I would suggest for right now, just go with to-dos. Then see, inside the collection, I'm going to add the first document, which is a row. You can think in MySQL. So document ID is like your primary key. Okay, so this is from which it's going to access it. Okay, what are the fields that it has? Two fields. One is completed. This is going to be a boolean, right? Or we'll keep this as true. Second field is to do, and this will be, let's say, buy bread, right? And save. So you saw that it created a collection to dos. In to dos, these are my documents. So right now there's only one. Okay. This ID is auto generated. And inside this document, I have these fields. Okay. Has everyone created one document at least? I'll just create another one just for showing an example. Okay, I created now two documents over here. You can just keep one. Has everyone created one document over here? Okay. So Firebase has a lot of features. So today we are only going to use Firestore database for handling our data. And second, we are going to host everything. When we are done, we are going to host all of this on the cloud. So we will use hosting. So this application that you are seeing right now, as the example, this is the hosted website. All right. Okay. So for that, now there is a settings button, right? You can see over here on the sidebar, go to project settings. Okay. And you will see there's a section called as your apps. Over here, click on this, like at this HTML closing tag. Click on this. This is for a web application. So using this, we can add Firebase to our web app. We can keep any name for it. I'm just going to put React to do CSI. Okay, something like that. And you can click on this to allow Firebase hosting, or you can keep it this unchecked also. I would suggest, because we are going to any which ways do this, you can put the click on this, okay? And this is going to be your URL. Over here you can see it's CSI to do app. Similarly, it's going to put React to do CSI, something like this, .web.app. It will be something like this for your website, okay? And I'm going to register this application. Okay, next thing, we will need the Firebase SDK. Okay, so for this, we are going to run this command, npm install Firebase. You can copy it from here and we can run it in our terminal. Npm install Firebase inside our project. All right. Okay, while that is installing, we will go to the next step. We will need the Firebase CLI. Okay, so what this is going to do is going to install Firebase tools globally. Okay, so if you're on Linux or Mac, I'm going to open another terminal, a third terminal in which I'm going to run this command. Okay, if you're on Linux or Mac, you will need to put sudo in front of it to run this. If you are on Windows, try running it inside the terminal. If it doesn't work, okay, for me it will work because I have shut down some security measures. If it doesn't work, go to start, okay, find CMD, which is your command prompt, and run it as an administrator, and then run this command. What this is going to do is going to install Firebase tools globally on your system. So now we can use this thing from anywhere. Okay. Is this clear? One, we need to install Firebase inside our project. So we'll do npm install Firebase. Second, we are going to run npm install Firebase tools, but globally. This -g means globally. Okay. Can you display package.json? Okay. Okay. These two we installed right now, and also this MUI icons. So these are the CSS material icons that we installed. Rest of these were created by Create React app, and we will now add Firebase as one dependency. After it is done, it will come over here. Okay. Coming back to Firebase, while both of them are being installed, we are going to click on next. Okay, this is how you're going to deploy our project into hosting. Okay. First thing that we are going to do, this we are not going to deal with right now, but it's good to know. First, what we are going to do, we are going to log in into our Google account in which this project is. Second, we're going to initialize our project. Okay. And third, we will deploy the build folder. When we run npm run build, it will create a build folder, and that folder is going to be sent to Firebase, which will be served by them. Okay. This we will do in the end after we have created our application. Okay. So continuing. So after everyone has everyone is done like installing everything. So for me, Firebase has been installed. You can see it is added to our dependency list. Okay. And over here, I've also installed Firebase tools globally. Okay. Come into the rules section, and we need to, so as of right now, we cannot interact with our Firebase Firestore database from our application, because right now we have put reading and writing as false. So it's not going to give us any permissions. So for that, what we need to do is we need to set this to true. Okay. So I'll try publishing it, but it might like, yeah. So when you click on publish, it will update it for you. For me, because I have like exploited Firebase so much, I'll need to do it manually. Okay. Or you can go forward and publish this. It will work for you. Okay, I'll just refresh my screen and you can see that my rules have been updated now. Right. So what did we do right now? We created a Firebase project for our application. Second, we created a Firestore database in our own region because we want fast access. Second, we enabled the use of Firestore. So we changed the reading and writing permissions to true. This is where you will put like your complex security rules if you are building a complex application. But for right now, we are just keeping an open access. Okay. Next, what we are going to do, we installed Firebase into our application and we installed Firebase tools in our global application, right? So is everyone done with these things? Where did you access rules? Okay. It is in our Firebase database. There is a section called as rules over here. Did you get it? Okay, you got it. Okay. Okay, I will move on. If anyone has doubt, someone from CSI team will help you out. Okay. Now we need to, we saw those programs, how to integrate our Firebase with our project. So for that, first we will need to do Firebase login. Okay. When we run this, it will open the browser where it will show me my login screen in Google, right? It's going to pop up my web browser. Okay, I logged in. I logged it in using my email account. Okay. Second step that I'm going to do is I'm going to initialize a Firebase project. So I'm going to run Firebase init. Okay. So everyone, please make sure that you look at all these steps because we need to do it correctly. Okay. So first, are you ready to proceed? Yes. And click enter. So which features are we going to use? First, we are going to use Firestore. Second, we are going to use hosting. These are the two files that we are going to be using. Okay. You select them using spacebar and using up and arrow keys, you will go up and down options. Okay. After you have selected both of them, click enter. Is everyone following up till now? We selected this Firestore and hosting, these two options. Okay. Next, what we are going to do is it's asking us, do we need to create a new project or are we going to use an existing project? Okay. So because we have already created a project, we are going to use an existing project. Okay, now we need to find it from the list. For all of you, it should not be a big list. But you select the application, the project that you have created. So for me, it is React to do CSI. Okay, you can see it over here, React to do CSI. This is the application that I had created. And enter. So this was our project setup. Now I'm going to set up your these ones. Okay, so for these, you just click enter for rules. And then indexes also enter. And for hosting, over here, there is one change. We are going to change it to build folder. Okay. What do you want to use as your public directory? We are going to use the build folder because all our files are going to be exported into this folder called build. So this is the folder that we are going to serve onto the web. Okay, enter. Configure as a single page app. So React is going to create a single page app. As I said, all your pages are going to be accessed through one file, which is index.html. Okay. In our application, for to-do application, there are like no other paths, but we will keep this as yes, because this is a good practice if you're creating using React, because all your pages are going to be redirected to index.html. Okay. Second, then set up automatic builds in GitHub. This is something that is DevOps. This is something that you can do if you want. but we are not going to do it. So no. And initialization is complete. So till here, does anyone have any doubts? This was a big initialization step. It should get this error like everything is successful and it should show that initialization is complete. Up till here, does anyone have any errors or problems? Can you repeat from init step? Okay. First thing that you need to do is log in to the account that you have created, with which you have created this. So for this account, I have used my Somaya account. Okay. So log in using that Gmail account. Okay. Then you do Firebase init. Okay. For that, it will first ask you, are you ready to proceed? You click yes. Then what features you want to use? One, you need to choose Firestore. Second, you need to choose hosting without the GitHub action deploy. Okay, this one. Then next one that you need to do is project setup. So we are using an existing project because we have already created it from the web interface, and then we will select that project manually from the list that it provides. Okay. Next, for Firestore setup, your rules and indexes, just click enter and it will use the default file. And then for hosting setup, we are going to use, for public directory, we are going to use the build folder. This is one change. And configure a single page app, we have to use yes. Okay. And for setuping or GitHub deployment, we will choose no. Okay. And after this, your initialization should be complete. Okay, I'll then move forward. Okay, now you can see we have like new files over here. So we have this firebase.json. It like all the settings that we mentioned right now, this is all written over here. So if you have done any mistakes, you can edit it over here. So for Firestore, this will be the default files. For hosting, public should be built. We will ignore these files because we do not want to deal with these files. We are going to ignore all of these. And we are going to rewrite all our routes to index.html. Okay. So whatever we specified during initialization, it is present over here. If you made any mistakes, you can deal with them over here. Okay. Next is your indexes. This will be by default empty like this. We will not be doing anything over here. And then we have our Firestore rules. This also you can see we have specified true, right? So this also can be done. Okay. So if like me, you had some problems, so you can even like deal with this manually over here. But I would not suggest. For you, it should have worked. Okay. What else did we do? This one, Firebase RC. So this is just telling which project are we using. Okay. So these 1, 2, 3, 4 files should have been created in your project folder. Okay. Okay. Coming back now. So now we have initialized our file. We have some connection now. For using it inside React, there are like some things that we need to do. We will again come to project settings. Okay. And we will see this application, the application we created just now, right? This file, and we're going to click on config. Okay. So these are the credentials that we require to connect with our Firebase account from JavaScript. Okay. So what, again, I'll repeat, in project settings, okay, we'll come over here and we'll find the app that we just created right now. Okay. And in the SDK setup, we are going to click on config. In this config, we have all of these files, right? So for this config files, we are going to paste it in our source folder inside a file called as firebase.js. Inside source folder, we will create a file called firebase.js. Okay, everyone clear where we have to make the file? Okay. Next thing we are going to do is we are going to import Firebase from Firebase. Okay. So we installed Firebase earlier, if you remember. Okay. Then we are going to create a Firebase app. So Firebase app is equals to Firebase dot initialize app. I'll put all of this inside the chat box so that you do not get like confused if there are some spelling mistakes. I put this in the chat box too. Okay. I'm just going to put all of that. Okay. So what we are going to do using Firebase, we are going to initialize an app with this config. So this config is of my previous application. So I'm going to take the config. So just take this curly braces because that is the JSON object that we require. Okay. I'm going to replace this with my current config file and I'm going to save this. Next, okay, I think my network, my connection broke in between. Uh, Everyone followed me when I was creating this page, right? The Firebase application. Oh, sorry, Firebase.js. This file.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I'll close all of this. Now we can use this. Now we can connect to our database. So this to-dos which we wrote manually, now we're going to take it from the database itself. Okay. Now here comes the interesting part. How are we going to do this? So if you remember in the last session, I said that we use something called as use effect to interact with the databases, right? So that's what we are going to do. We are going to use effect. Okay. Now you can see the power of use effect. We will import this from React over here. Okay. Now what will be the effect? We will deal with this. Okay. Dependency list will be empty. We are not depending on anything. Okay. Now what will be the effect? We are going to use the DB we just saw, right? It sometimes comes from auto import. If it doesn't, we need to import it manually. Import DB from because we are in the components, we need to go one directory above. So // and then firebase.js. Okay. So this is how we are going to import that DB. Okay. Then DB dot. We are going to in Firebase there is a collection, right? There's a collection called as to-dos, right? This is the name of the app collection that we made in our Firestore database, to-dos. So that's what's going to be over here. And inside that, we want all the documents from it. Okay. So there are two ways of getting, two ways of reading data from our database. So one is using get. Okay. Now this, what will this do? As of right now, whatever data is there, give it to me. Using whatever the query is passed, get me all of the data according to the query at the moment. Okay. Second way, which is the way we are going to be dealing, is called on SS capital snapshot. Okay. What will this do on snapshot? This is going to give us real-time listening to our database. So this will have two parameters. One will be if there are no errors, if it was successful, and second one will be if there are any errors. Okay. So first we'll do the error handling. So if there is an error, just console log the error. That is the error handling. If it is successful, okay. If it is successful, we will have a query snapshot. Where am I getting all of this? How to do this? Everything is from the documentation of Firebase. If someone is interested, they can look into the documentation of Firebase. Okay. I think I forgot to mention everything that we are doing today is free. There will be no charges on the cloud because we are using the free tier of our of Firebase. So the usage limits is that for daily use we have around 20k writes, and for reading we have 50k reads. So this much is like a very generous quota for daily use. Okay, coming back. So it will give us a query snapshot. Okay, in the query snapshot, we will have to extract the data. Okay, so first I will create an empty array called as documents. Okay, docs, documents for short. It will be an empty array. Okay, then I'm going to loop through the query snapshot. So query snapshot dot for each. Okay, now this will require another function. Okay, this will get individual document. And what are we going to do? We are going to push this data into the documents array. So we're going to, what in docs, this empty array, right? We are going to push, what are we going to push? We are going to push this object, which will have all of the data of the document. So document.data, and I'm going to give it I'm going to give it another field called as id, and it will have the document id. And then I'm going to console log this doc so that everyone can see
It should
what.
be doc.data, not docs.data.
Yes, sorry, doc.data. This document that I have, from that I am just opening up. So this is called the spread operator. Okay, this is something that we use in JavaScript. It's going to open up this object into its individual fields, and I'm adding one field called as ID, which will have the document ID. This is the auto-generated one that we saw in the database. This one, TK and PW. Okay, now let's just look at on our website if everything can't resolve Firebase. So I think I might have not installed Firebase properly. I might have to restart my server because it can't find Firebase. So this can happen when you're installing something. It can happen that sometimes you might have to restart your server. Okay, so till the server is restarting, if anyone has doubts till now, they can ask me. And just keep the cleanup function like this right now. Just comment it out. We are going to deal with cleanup function. Okay, if there are any doubts, you can ask me. Okay, so now the server has restarted. Now we can see what is coming in the console log. Okay, it still cannot find Firebase for some reason. Hmm. Okay, so here's where the issue came. Even Firebase has, I'm unmuted, right? Yeah. So same issue arised that Firebase changed the way that they're handling everything. So we're using version 9. So now we need to use it in this way instead. So I'm just going to change this line to this, right? And instead of doing this, I'm just going to give it direct access. Okay. Now the error should be cleared. And todos is not defined. Okay. So for right now, we can just comment it out because we are not displaying anything. All right. Let's come back to our website and refresh. Okay. And for using Firebase, now we need to access it using this way. Okay. So you can see that there are some changes in the way everything needs to be accessed. So we need to accommodate according to that whenever we are using third-party libraries. Yes. We initialize the app, and over here we are going to do this way. In this get Firestore, and you can see how they have used this. We are going to get the Firestore of this application. So instead of doing this, I'm going to write get Firestore of what is the application? Firebase app. And also the way we accessed it has been changed. So now instead of doing in that way, we need to do it in this way. So we need to do collection and then that collection and then get document, right? So there's some like changes that we need to do. So this file we are not going to be using over here. We'll be using it over here. So instead of writing it in this way, because I'm sure this might have given some error, right? This must have given some sort of an error because that's not the way we are supposed to access this, right? Okay. So there's some changes in the version, right? So I'm just going to comment this out and we're going to write it using the new syntax, the way they want us to do. So collection, and then I'm going to pass the Firestore, right? You can see it in the documentation. What do we need to pass? We need to pass the Firestore. That's the DB that we have. Okay, that's the DB that we exported. And then what do we need to pass? We need to pass the collection name that we want. So in our case, that is going to be to-dos, right? What will this give us? It is going to give us the collection of that, right? So we'll see, we need this one to be asynchronous, right? And we will get our to-dos collection over here, right? And then we are going to do the same thing. Instead of doing on snapshot, I'm going to do get documents. But I think instead of get documents, because we want real time, there will be some different way to do this. So what I'm doing right now is I'm getting the new syntax of doing the same thing that we were doing. So because Firebase has updated their way, so instead of doing on snapshot in a promise sort of way, we are going to deal with this in this way. So on snapshot, and what do we need to pass into it? We are going to pass the document using this way, right? So on snapshot, and we will get it from here, how we are going to use this. We are going to pass it the collection, right? We're going to pass to-dos collection to it, and then we are going to get our query snapshot from this, which we are going to await, right? Next, using that snapshot, we are going to do the same thing that we did earlier. We are going to have this thing.
We need to do get docs also.
So okay, get docs is for as I said, there are two ways of accessing the data. Using the query, we can either do one, like we will just read it. So that we do using get docs over here. Okay. What we want real-time listening. So for that, we are going to use on snapshot. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Then we got this thing and we console log it. So let's run this thing and check, does this thing work? So what problem happened is like Firebase upgraded from version 8 to version 9. So they have changed the way we are accessing all of this. As you can see, the functions are the same. So instead of writing db.collection, they have made collection a function on its own, right? So these are some sort of changes that they have done from their side. There might be some sort of optimization on their side, but we will
On
need
snapshot isn't imported.
yes, so this one, for this, I think we will need to install another library for this, or there might be some different way of accessing this.
You haven't added on snapshot in the import statement either.
In the
Import statement.
over here, right?
Yes.
On snapshot is not present, right?
There in Google Docs, Firebase Docs.
Okay, but it does not find this one somewhere. Okay, so let's try to find this in node models. This is real life debugging that's happening. So this,
There it was written Firebase / Firestore.lite /lite, not disk /lite.
okay, we have this present. We have this thing, but it cannot find this for some reason. Okay. Upgrading from version 8, combining the version styles. So, okay, we can do this instead. Instead of doing the light version, we can just access it using this way and this way. Hopefully this should work. Okay. And looking at our application, let's refresh. Firebase expected first argument to be a collection reference on snapshot. Which line is this? Nine. Firestore collection. This passes a collection reference. We give it these things. Okay. Expected first argument will be a collection reference. Firebase Firestore. This is just Firestore. We want to pass it Firebase Firestore. Okay, we need to do get Firestore on the app. We did that. So let's check it over here. Okay, because we are using light version, we need to update it over here also.
On snapshot version, the on snapshot function requires a document we are passing a collection. I think we need to loop or
we want the data from this one. Query snapshot.for, which is not a function. Query snapshot. Okay, let's just comment this out and see what's in the query snapshot.
In the documentation, there's an example for it. On snapshot with Q query snapshot.
Okay, okay. Now everything is working. So we did with this one. Okay. In the query snapshot.docs. Okay, everything is inside docs, and then we map through it. So what we are going to do is query snapshot dot docs dot map, and in that we are going to find each and every document, and we are going to return all of this. We are going to return this thing. We are going to return this object which will have this data and the ID, and this will be put over here. Okay, let me just refactor all of this, and I will give you like the final code.
As per the documentation, the on snapshot returns an unsubscribe function, not the snapshot.
Okay, on snapshot. Okay, so we need to pass this whole thing over here instead. Okay,
Yes.
and this is right. This is right. Right. On snapshot. So this whole thing will be passed till this part. X. Okay. And this whole thing will be over here. And this is done. I'm going to do docs dot push this whole thing. Push this whole thing. On snapshot will give you unsubscribe, and I'm going to push this whole thing into this one. Let's try it out. Okay, let's see. Okay, doc.data is not.
You haven't added the loop dot map.
On snapshot, this is individual one. Events from multiple listen
There
to
is
multiple.
one more article which is stating about listen to multiple.
I got this one. I got this one. Okay, I got this one. So I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to use it for myself. So it's going to give us a query snapshot, and there will be documents. And for query snapshot, I'm going to do documents.push. And what am I pushing? I'm pushing this thing into this. And then I'm going to log the docs. All of this is not required. Okay. And export default. Okay. Okay, now everything is done. So what did we do? We just changed the way everything is accessed. Okay. So sorry, because like there was like change from Firebase side. Now we are seeing that the two documents that are in our database, we can see it in our console, right? And it has three properties: completed, ID, and to do. Okay. We are going to use this. So this is going to be our new to dos. Okay. And this is going to be changing. So that's why we're going to put this thing in state. Okay. So how are we going to do? First thing, we are going to create a state for this, right? And this will be to dos, right? And initially it will be empty. All right. And instead of, and we are going to do use state, we are going to import it from React. Okay. Next thing that we do, instead of console logging, I'm going to set the to dos that we got from Firebase. I'm going to set it and save. So now you can see that, all right, use state is not defined still. Okay, refresh. Okay, now everything is happening. We are just not displaying it. So I'll just open this up. I'll uncomment this. So it shows me on the screen. Okay, we can see this is coming from Firebase now. The to-do list, initially it was empty, right? And then now I'm going to, initially it will be empty. After I get the data from database, I'm going to set the to-dos to the document that I receive. Okay. Now, now that we have changed the syntax, I'll again explain what has happened over here. Okay. So let's just minimize this. Okay. We are going to access using our DB, the database, the Firestore database that we have. Okay. So I'll just put this new syntax again in the chat box because this file has been changed a little bit. Okay. You can again do this and put your config in according to your application, right? And second, for our to-dos, I'll put this use effect, which you can copy in your code. Okay. Okay. So what's happening over here? So what it's going to do in our database, it's going to find a collection called as to-dos. Okay. Then I'm going to create an on snapshot. What it what it does, it will attach a listener to our to-dos collection, and then it will give us a snapshot of the data. So this is real-time snapshot. Okay. What we are going to do is we are going to create an empty array. Then we are going to loop through the snapshot. And then for each document, we are going to access the data and we are going to take its ID because we want a unique identifier. And we are going to put this into this empty array. Okay. Once we have extracted the data from all the documents, we will set the to-dos. Okay, this we have done yesterday in our that counter value. We changed it from, let's say, 5 to 1. We saw that we are setting it, right? When we did the mock database call, similarly, same thing is happening. And we are then using this to-dos over here. We are mapping through it, and we are going to display each individual to-do item. All right. Now we can see. Now we have connected the reading rights from the database. Now we need to write to the database in case we are changing something over here, or we are clicking over here and changing something, or we are trying to delete the to-do item. So all of that, the writing part, we will connect to the database now. Okay. So what's going to happen? Okay. One thing, because we have attached a listener. Okay. So what this is going to be connected to our database all the time. So if we close this browser, okay, the listener is still attached. We need to disconnect it after we are done, after we close this thing. So how do we do that? So over here is the cleanup function. Okay. So in the use effect, when we return, so this is a function itself. We are returning a function. So whenever we, let's say, close the browser, or this page crashes, whatever happens, there are something that needs to be done to clean up all the things. So this real-time listener, we need to unsubscribe to it, so that this also causes your memory leak. Okay. So we need to unsubscribe to it. Otherwise, it will keep listening to it, but there is no receiver. So if you see it in your database, in the usage tab, you can see how many listeners are there, right? So every time you connect, it will keep on increasing because there's always some listener, right? So this is bad for your database, because there are so many listeners who do not need this data. Okay. So we are going to unsubscribe. So this happens in the cleanup part of a use effect. How does that happen? We return a function in which we will unsubscribe. So this unsubscribe is a function which we are going to call over here. Is this clear? The whole
Why don't we just return unsubscribe? Because there's a function which is calling a function.
right?
We can just return unsubscribe without calling it.
So instead of doing this, you want to do something like this.
No. Return, no, not like that. Just return unsubscribe.
Okay, no. Okay. So yeah, I think maybe that will also work. We can just do, instead of doing this, we return in unsubscribe. Okay.
Yes.
That will also work, in my opinion. That should work because it requires a function. It should work mostly, but just to be safe, I want to keep it like this. Okay. You can try it out and let me know if that works. It should mostly, because you need to return a function, and this itself is a function. Okay. Okay, coming back. Yes. Okay, I'll just show this that it is actually real time. So this is our database. Our by eggs was false. I'll change this to true, and I update this. As you can see, it is listening to it real time. Okay. So that's why we put the on snapshot. Okay. Now we will do the writing part to the database. Is the reading part, everyone is clear how it's happening? Okay, I'll move forward. Okay, so to do item. So checkbox. What do we need? So when we click on this, okay, on click, what do we want? We want to update the value of this document from, let's say, false to true or true to false, right? So how are we going to do that? For that, we will require the document. We are going to write a function, let's say handle completed, right? This is going to be a function that we create, const handle completed. Okay, so what's going to happen over here? We are going to update the value of this document in the database itself. So for that, Okay, we are going to use this one, set doc. This is a function coming from Firebase. So using that, we are going to update the values. Okay. So for that, first we need to find the document, right? How do we find the document? We can do it like this, right? So how does this work? Document, we need to pass it to a database. We will need to find the collection, and then we need to find the document ID. So if you remember, we got the ID from the this thing, and we have put it into our to-dos. Okay, so now we need to add we need to pass the ID also from the our to-dos to our to-do item, right? We're going to pass ID also, which we are getting from Firebase. These IDs, right? Okay. Now we are going to use this IDs. So we have this in the props now. So for handle completed, we are going to set the doc. Okay, using this one. First thing what we need to pass is the reference to this thing. So first thing we need to pass is the DB itself, right? So DB. Then we need to pass the collection name, right? So that is to-dos. And next is the document ID. So we are getting that from props. So that's going to be props dot ID, right? So now we are going to change the data, right? How do we do that? So whatever our props is, so what is in our prop? We have a completed to-do and ID, right? So for that, we need to give it some data. So that's going to be, the data is going to be completed is equals to, it's going to be opposite of whatever the data is, right? As of right now. So whatever from properties, whatever completed data is there, we are going to not it. So when we put exclamation in front of a boolean, it will make from true to false or false to true. Okay. And because we are not dealing with this thing, so the to do will still be props dot to do. Okay, now let's check this. Also, we need to await this, and the function needs to be asynchronous. Okay, let's check our this one application. Did this thing work? Okay, we need to import our DB. Let's check this. Okay.
We also need to set the ID.
Huh?
Also need to set the ID again.
No, ID will be constant. We are not changing the ID. ID is so that we know which document we need to edit. Okay. What am I doing? I'm going to set the document. How I'm going to do? I'm going to write to the document referred. Okay. How do I find that? I'm first seeing that this is the Firestore. Then I'll find the collection, and then I have the ID. Right. So this is how I will access the ID. Right. After that, I am going to give it some data using which I will update it. Okay. So this might work, this might not work because this is new syntax. Okay, let's try it out. So if I click on this, it gave me an error because it wanted a direct reference to the document, which we did not give. Okay. So how do we do that? How do we find a document? We need to do it using doc instead of this. All right. So this whole thing will be part of doc. What doc does? You pass it the Firestore, you pass it the path and the like path to the document. It will return to you a document reference which said document will use, right? It needs a reference and the data. So let's try this again and it should work now. Okay, I clicked on this. You can see it updated over here to true. And because we are listening to it real time, we do not need to set everything again, right? So that's what I said that in the last application, while we were manually updating this thing, because we are listening to this real time, this is happening from Firebase itself, right? Is this clear, right? Updating our data. Is this clear?
Yes.
Okay. Similarly, for text field also we are going to do. So for text field, on change, what we are going to do? Handle change text, right? We're going to make another function like this. This is also going to be an asynchronous function. So by the way, I'm using the async await syntax of writing all of this. This is web version 8, so you can use the then catch way of writing this also, right? Which I showed yesterday. Today I'm using async await. Okay, so you can use both of the syntax which you can find in the Firebase documentation. How to do both of them. Okay. All right. So what we are going to do, same thing. We are going to set the document, right? But instead, what's the difference? Completed will still be props.completed, but props, the to do will instead will be, what will it be? Whatever we get from the change, right? Change event. So if you remember, what was it? E dot target dot value, right? This is what comes from the input field, right? We did it yesterday when we were changing the values of from 1 to 5 or something like that, right? So whatever we change, it will go to the to do. Let's try this out. Will this work? Okay, let's try eggs by music, or like by, I don't know, by eggs or by cheese, right? Something like that. Now, whatever we are changing, this is happening real time in database, which we are listening to it, right? Whatever changes that we are doing over here, right? When we are dealing with this by cheese, we are updating it and we are listening it to it real time, right? So now the even editing of this is done. Last thing that we need to do is we need to delete this, right? So how are we going to delete this? Let's go to the documentation again and see how do we delete an item. So you can see delete data. So for that, there's a function called as delete document, and you pass a document reference to it. Okay. So you go like this, and we're on this button, on click, what's going to happen is handle delete document, sorry, delete document, right? And we are going to create a function for this, right? And what we are going to do, we saw right now in the documentation, we are going to use delete doc, and then we are going to pass this value to it. So for that, first this needs to be async, right? And then we are going to await delete doc, and then we are going to pass the document reference, which is inside our Firebase. There is a collection called as to-dos, and the document ID will be props.id. Let's check this now. Will this work? So I did this and the document is deleted, right? Okay. Last thing that we need to do, till here, is there any doubt? Anyone? Any doubt till here? We did changing the completed, we did changing the text. For that, we set the document using its reference, and then we pass some data to it. Similarly for text, and for that we gave the target value of the input field to it. And for deleting, we gave the reference of the document and we call the delete document function. Any doubts still here? Can you please put to do item and to do? Okay, to do's is yeah, I'll put this. I'll just put all of this on so everyone has the link of the repo, right? So to do commit update feed. Okay. I'm sending all of this to the GitHub repository so you can get the code from GitHub itself. Okay. It's the same repo that was given to you on WhatsApp today. Okay. If you want, I'll just send the link of that repo once again. Okay. So as of right now, what my project looks like has been pushed to GitHub, so you can look at it. All right. Now, last thing that we need to do is we need to add a plus button, right? So how do we do that? So for that, we'll come back to to-dos, right? Because this is not something that we are going to repeat. This is something that's going to be only one time. So it's going to be a div, and it's going to have a class name of add button, which comes a file called todos.css. So I'll create a styling file for this too. Okay. And the styling will be this, which I will send it over here. Okay. I sent the CSS file over there in the chat box so you can have a look at it. Okay. What's it going to have is it's going to have a floating action button. So this is also one. This is also from Material UI itself. It's called floating action button, fab. Okay. And we are going to have the color as primary. And the icon will be add icon. Let's see if this comes. Okay. I need to import this manually. The icon. Add icon. Let's see if this renders properly. Okay, same error is there that the icon is not available. Right now, I'm just keeping it as simple text one because we have run out of time. So I'll like fix this up on GitHub so you can see this. Okay. So add to do. Okay. Okay, add to do, this button will be there, right? And what this but when I click this button, what's going to happen is on click, it's going to add to do, right? Let's make this function const add to do. This will also be an async function. And how do we add documents? Let's look at the documentation. You can see add data. How do we do? There's a either we can set the document, but we want auto-generated ID. So for that, we are going to do when you use set. Okay. we are going to use this function called as add doc. So this will auto generate the ID for us, but we need to give it a collection reference. Okay. So this is the syntax of adding a new document. So I'm just going to take this template and we're going to use it in our own code. Okay. So document reference, this will come from add document, and we're going to use the collection function, and we are going to take in DB, there will be a collection called as to-dos, and then we are going to add this thing, which will have two fields. One is completed, so by default it will be false, and second to do, which will by default be empty. So let's save this, and add doc is not defined, so there might be some importing issues. Add doc, let's try again. Okay, and yeah, you can see now everything is working by X, right? We can click on completed or not completed, and we can remove it. Okay, so we have done all the CRUD operations using Firebase and React, which is we can create a document, we can read the document, right? We can update the document, and we can delete these documents, right? So all of this is done, right? I'll again push this thing. This is the add document. Okay, this thing is done, and I have pushed this thing. So now the application is completed. Okay, there are some like styling issues left, so I'll fix the styling and I'll push it into the GitHub, but functionality wise everything is working. Okay, now what we are going to do, application is complete. Now what we are going to do is, let's come back to the terminal. We'll shut this down. We're going to shut down our server because we don't need it now. What we're going to do, we're going to run this command called as npm run build. What this is going to do, is going to create this build folder. Okay, and this will have all your files in static format, using which any CDN can host your website. Okay, React generates a static website. Okay, you will see what is there in all of these files, and all your source code will be optimized and minified into a few files, which you will see in a few minutes. Okay, where did I get this command from? Okay, it's from package.json. This is something that they have already specified. Using this command, I can create a build of my project. Okay, so this is what you need to do. You need to build this project now.
Can we have to hide the API keys?
So API keys in production you should, but right now, because this is just a tutorial project, no one's actually going to use it, so it's okay, right? It doesn't matter. But when you're actually deploying it, it doesn't matter whether you're hiding the API keys or not. But you need to set up security of your Firebase in such a way that no one other than you can access it. Okay. So this is Firebase's rule. So similarly, if you're using some other, like if you're using your own, then so you have your own API keys, right? That individual, like, yeah, if I'm calling from this database, then only let me access. So that kind of things you can do.
Yeah, because if I try to host this on GitHub, it will give me the error for deployment that the API keys are not secured.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Because this is just a practice, right? It's a tutorial application. So you can go in depth on how to like improve the security of your application. One thing that you can do, the API keys, you can set it up as environment variables and then pass to it. Okay. That's one thing that you can do.
Yeah, that they are saying that .env file we have to make for that to secure the API key.
Yes, yes. That is so for creating environment variables, you need to create a file called as .env, and then you need to pass this whole thing, whatever your keys are, as individual items, and then you access it from here as process.env. whatever your environment variable name is. I'll just show an example of how that works. Okay, it's still creating the build folder. So this might take a lot of time because we have like a big folder and it depends on your PC's like processing power. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to create a env file. Okay, and in that you're going to put all your files. Okay, so let's say this is like React app not secret or something like some secret over here, right? And you put your keys over here. One thing is required that all your variables should start with React app, and then you can access it inside your application using process.env. Whatever your name is, variable name. So in this case, they have like React app not secret code. So in that way, you can access it, and it will work exactly the same. It's like a variable. That's all. It's a variable, right? Environment variable. Only thing is, it doesn't come in the source code. Okay. Right. Okay, let the build finish. Okay, so now you can see that the build is finished, right? And I'll show you the folder. What does it have? It has the index.html, all these like different files which were in my public folder. And then in the static, I have the CSS files and the JavaScript files. So this is all our code, which were so many files. Now they are just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 files. Okay. And this whole folder is something that you're going to serve on the net, right? So how are you going to do that? Very simple. What are you going to do? We are just going to do Firebase deploy. So because we have already specified, right, in Firebase JSON that our hosting, our folder is going to be build folder, right? So it's going to take this build folder, is going to upload it to Firebase in our hosting. And you can see it's reading all the rules and everything. And it is deploying it to our hosting website. And now this is the URL. I just go on this URL and I can access the application real time. So this is a hosted version. This is not running on my local machine. Right? And we have all the functionality still the same. I can show it on the console that in the hosting section. Okay. Now see, it is seeing that okay, I have this website and I did a deploy right now at this time according to their servers, right? Right now I did a deploy on the hosting this thing, right? So any doubt? The only thing you need to do npm run build and Firebase deploy, 2 commands. That's all, and it should be done. And you have a working application that is hosted on the cloud using a cloud database. Yes, someone was asking a doubt right now.
Am I audible?
Oh yeah.
So I had a doubt. If you are using Express.js instead of Firebase, then and you want to like host it on a CDN, and like when
Okay.
you run the npm run build and just store the files on the CDN of the static React website,
Right.
then how does like the Express and the React work together
Okay,
in
so
that case?
Express is used for creating backend, right? But Express can also serve static files, right? You can put images and you can serve them, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So if you're serving your front end, okay. By the way, this is an off-topic question. So session is over. If anyone has any doubts related to the session, they can ask me. These are all these questions that I'm solving right now are all off-topic. Okay. Okay. Coming back. So Express, it is a backend technology. So it can serve some static files. So whatever this build folder is, this whole thing is a static folder, right? You can set up your Express in such a way. Okay, in Express you have things like this, right? App dot what's that, app dot get, and then whatever the path is, and in this request response, you in your request and response you can, sorry, in this you can return some like response, right? So similarly you can return response dot send and some file you can send over here. What is that file going to be? It's going to be this index.html, right? I don't remember how to send files in Express, but I'm sure you might know the syntax. We'll send this index.html to it, and also this whole like all the static files, right? All the, you'll send the whole thing because it's going to access all of it, right? What that is going to do is then you can set up that slash and star. So this is like a wildcard. So it's the same thing that what we did over here in Firebase, right? Rewrite everything to index.html. So it's like that. Rewrite. So slash whatever is there, you send it to the, you will serve the index.html file, right? That's what's going to happen. And you need to set up your static folder in such a way that your index.html can access all your static files, all these JavaScript files. Okay, so that's all like a little bit of configuration that you need to do, but it is doable because I have myself done it, so I know it's possible.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Any question? So like I'll just like summarize what we did. First thing, we learned how to like make different components. Then for every component, how can we reuse a component, right? A to-do item was reused with like different properties. So it have all your to-do items have like different completed to-do and ID. So that's how we can reuse them, right? Next, what we did, we just added functionality of, we added CRUD functionality with our database. So right now we are dealing with Firebase. So this is the syntax in which Firebase expects us to deal with it. So they want us to access all of this in this way. If we're accessing our own backend, we have a personal backend. So it can be something like this, right? Let's say it's a function, const fetch data. What's the difference? I'm just going to do fetch, right? And in fetch, this is my backend URL, right? And right, and then dot then this will give me some data, right? And using that data, I'll let's say like the data is the to-dos itself. So I'll set that to this thing, right? So it's the same thing. You can either do it through your own data, backend, okay? But why are we using Firebase? Because one, you get like a very like generous amount of free quota that you can use or interact with this. You can see like for hosting also you have like there's such a big like quota that you can use. I can see the use, like you can go and check all the usages and billing, like how much you can do it in free storage. But like Firebase storage, like you have 50,000 reads and 30,000 writes. So for your any like college projects or like just like prototypes that you want to test out, for that Firebase is perfect, so that you can only focus on your front end, not the back end. Firebase itself is a backend as a service, right? Okay. How do we create a document? How do we create in Firebase? We use add document function. We pass it a collection reference, and for a collection reference, we need to pass the Firestore and the collection name, right? And then we get the document. We didn't use the document reference, but we could have done something with it if we wanted. Like we want to see the generated ID. We didn't deal with that, but if we wanted, we could have, right? and we pass the data that we want that should be there in the document when it is created. This is how you add a document. Then how do you update the document? You will update the document using this one, right? You set, this is a function called set document. You pass it a document reference, right? And then you give it a data that you want it to have. Similarly for text, for deleting, you use the command delete document, right? And you give it a document reference. Very easy. And for reading the data, you will do, there are two ways of reading the data. Either real, for if you want real-time listening, you do on snapshot and it gives you an unsubscribe function, which you will call in your cleanup, right? Or second way is you do get, which we saw it in the used in the documentation, right? Or read data, get data. So this is for get data once. What we are going to use? We are going to use a function called as where is it? Yeah, get doc, in which we need to pass the document reference. So this is the document reference we need to pass to it, and we can get the data from document.data, right? That's how you read the data. So this was for one document. We did it for multiple documents, right? We took the snapshot and we looped through all the document references and we got the individual data in our local variable, and then we set our to-dos using it, right? Is this clear? Any doubts? By the way, you can delete that file this Firebase created. That's just a log file for your deploy. It's okay if you delete that. That doesn't need to be there. Okay. And last we did was we deployed all of this. We ran the command npm run build, which created this build folder, which has all our files in an optimized form. And then we ran Firebase deploy, which deployed our build folder to Firebase. Okay. And which we can now interact with. Now you can send this link to anyone and they can interact with this. Okay. I'll improve the styling of this code, which will like again get it from the GitHub repository. I'll just change the styling of all of this so that it looks good. Okay. Yesterday's question. Yeah. So yes, you can. So props, it depends. Like if it is something that is like that can break your code, if you don't give it some data, then your website will crash. But if your program can work without that property, and if you are not passing it, it will work. It doesn't matter. Okay. Okay. Any more doubts? Or should we end the session?
I am getting an error of collection expected first argument of collection to be a collection reference.
Okay. You are doing it in the on snapshot, right?
Yes.
So in on snapshot, first should be, it's going to be the doc function, DOC. And in that, you need to pass the database, you need to pass the collection name. And that's how, okay, sorry. You are dealing with which one? Let me just show it again, the screen. The code, you are dealing with this, right? On snapshot. So in this,
Yes.
it should be a collection, right? Using this collection function, you're going to give it a reference. So in the database, you want the to-dos collection. So that's how you give a collection reference. You can see that the documentation given over
What
here.
I did.
Right? What? Could you repeat? Could you repeat?
That's what I did.
Over here, you did this and you passed it over here. Okay, you can like send me all of these doubts via my email or on LinkedIn. My email, I'm typing it out in the chat box. you can ask me over there or on WhatsApp also. I think WhatsApp will be more preferable as there's a lot of people over there. So if someone has the same doubt, you can do it over there. I'm on all groups, so I prefer you put it on the group. But here's my email if you still want it. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Any more doubts? Anyone? All right.
Thank you, Mitanshu. Okay, so guys, that brings us to the end of phase 1 of our boot camp. So on behalf of our college and our principal, Sir Dr. Suresh Shukrande, Vice Principal Dr. Sunita Patil ma'am, and Professor Uday Rote sir, we'd like to thank all of you for joining this boot camp, and we hope you all learned something new today as well. And looking forward to seeing all of you next week for phase 2, day 3 and day 4, that is on 25th and 26th September respectively. So yeah, that's it for today. Do fill up the feedback form in the chat box. I've put up the link so that you all will be eligible for the certificate. Thank you, everyone.